over in China, our kababayans are not spared from a grim outbreak of COVID-19. About 19 Filipinos in Shanghai have been infected with COVID-19 while the city is facing strict lockdowns. Let's get the details now from the Philippine Consul General to Shanghai, Josel Ignacio. Conjen, thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word. How many so far of these 19 of our kababayans have been discharged from quarantine facilities in Shanghai?
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. As of today, as you said, we have 19 cases cumulative, but the active cases are just 9, meaning that 10 have been discharged to date. And we are happy that, the number of the discharged have exceeded the number of those that are still in quarantine centers.
So, Conjen, these 10 who have been discharged, how long were they in the quarantine facilities?
It varies from a few days. It varies from a few days to some were in quarantine for as long as 3 weeks. So it varies depending on how they progress, with being rid of the virus, from their respective systems. It depends on when they test negative.
And have you been in touch with those discharged, and were they infected, all of them, with Omicron?
Here in Shanghai, the spread is attributed to Omicron. So we're assuming that many of those cases are Omicron, partly also because they are less severe than it's rapidly spreading, but it's less. The symptoms are not so severe.
So the 10 who have been discharged, how are you helping them, Conjen?
Okay, we're actually helping everyone, whether discharged or not. We're arranging to, depending on the strictures of the facility, some are so strict that no access is possible even for care packages. But for those that facilities that allow us to have care packages delivered, we are sending them. So that's the situation right now, and we are in touch with them. From the start, they contact us, and then we monitor their situation. When they have concerns, we flag it to authorities. We ask and make representations for these concerns to be addressed, because the consulate right now is also locked down, and we have no access.
So, Conjen Ignacio, what about the 9 active cases? Are they all in different facilities? Where are they now?
Yes, they are in different facilities. There's an offshore. No? One of the districts of Shanghai is an island, so some of them are there in Chongming, and then some are spread all around. Some are makeshift facilities, and there would be maybe like a couple of them who have been allowed to stay at home pending transfer to facilities.
And have they been able to share with you their experiences within these quarantine facilities? Have Chinese authorities been too strict? Have they been lenient? How are they being treated inside these facilities, Conjen Ignacio?
Well, yeah, thank you. So, some of them, Rico, are, they find the amenities suitable enough, and that comforts us very much. We have had some cases where the facilities were below par in terms of living up to globally acceptable sanitation standards, water, hygiene. And we talked, to higher level officials to have our kababayan transferred to a more suitable facility. And then we made representations so that foreigners in general, and also Filipinos, of course, as a core, as a diplomatic corps, we made representations that if it's possible, for the expats could be assigned, a dedicated facility, and they're acting on that very positively.
And Conjen, you are the Consul General of Shanghai and 4 other areas around Shanghai. Have you been in touch with your colleagues in Beijing, and how if Filipinos as well are also being infected there and in quarantine facilities in the capital of Beijing?
We have received reports. For now, our attention as the consulate here has been really preoccupied with the situation in Shanghai. But we have monitored the reports of our colleagues in Beijing, and for now, I think the situation there is being put under control. We have a more severe severe situation right now here in Shanghai, which is for now the epicenter of the ongoing outbreak for China as a country.
So Conjen, with this, with the rising cases, no, in Shanghai and the strict lockdowns, do some of our kababayans there want to go home, leave Shanghai and China altogether?
Yeah, we have had a few inquiries, messages received from some of our kababayans, expressing their wish to go home and asking how. Right now, there's no plan, in the works as for a large scale repatriation, because that would depend on our assessment of the numbers, the severity of the situation. But a number of our kababayans here have also indicated that they're ready to ride it out. Partly because the zero COVID policy of China, once you're out of China, makes it very hard for a worker, to return. So that's also part of the dynamic, in the decision making whether you want to go home or not. But we are ready to respond. We have our ears attuned to the needs of our kababayan.
And Conjen, one last question. I mean, we have a very important electoral exercise taking place on May 9. But a lot of overseas Filipinos in other countries have already started voting in key cities around the region. Are Filipinos there allowed to vote in the consulate? How can they vote? I mean, with this lockdown, will they eventually be allowed to cast their vote for their candidates?
Yeah, I think the key word, Rico, is eventually. That's what we're also hoping for. We have formally raised this, by diplomatic note to Shanghai authorities that we be allowed to open our consulate and that our people, the eligible voters, be allowed to leave their residences to cast their votes. Unfortunately, since April 10, we have not been able to open for lockdown reasons. But we have, next week to go, and we're really hoping that for this next week we can do it. There's an option for them to vote in another post that also does personal voting like Shanghai. But that post right now, the closest is Xiamen. And but that option is available. It's just that there are also still lockdown hurdles to be overcome. But we're ready to assist and to answer inquiries in cooperation with our colleagues in Xiamen.
Philippine Consul General to Shanghai, Josel Ignacio. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on The Final Word.